Next thing we're going to talk about is the range sequence. Okay, so what a range is the sequence of consecutive integers, and it's a really nice way to define consecutive integers, iterate through consecutive integers. And so basically the way the syntax works is very similar to list slicing notation, in that we have 3 arguments, 2 of them being optional in this case, and what A is going to be our start index, and B is going to be our end index. And like list slicing, the start index is inclusive, the end index is exclusive, and C is our step size. And then A and C have a default value of 0 and 1 respectively. So the best way to see this is, let's just look at some examples. So I'm going to run Python, and let's say I go from the range of 1 to 10. We expect to see 1 through 9. But something interesting is going to happen. We're actually going to get this. Okay, so the why this happens though is something I'll talk about later in the course, so don't worry about this. But really the only way to see the actual numbers is if we go for I in range 1 to 10. And also, because I didn't notice, I didn't include the third argument. The third argument has a default value of 1, so you don't really need to include it. So, and then what I want to do, I need to include a colon, of course. I need to just print out I, and I'll get 1 through 9, because 10 is going to be exclusive. So I get 1 through 9. Alright, and then let's say I want to get, another thing I can do is if I want to get the numbers 0 to n minus 1, I can just do this special syntax where I just include one argument. So if I want to get 0 through 4, I can just do 4i in range 5, and if I print that out, I'll see 0 through 4. Okay, and the way they define range is that the length of the sequence that we create is basically this value right here. So if I create a range of 5, it's going to have a length of 5. So 0 through 4 has 5 elements. If I create a range from A to B with the step size of 1, it's just going to be B minus A. That's why they defined it as such. So a range from 1 to 10 is just going to have 10 minus 1 elements, which is 9, as you can see. So that's why they defined it that way. Now, what else can we do with range? So, there's also one interesting syntax I can show. You can make, so if you actually want to make a range on the fly, or a list on the fly, one thing you can do is you can define it in terms of a range. So if I want to make a list of odd numbers from 1 through 10, I can go 1 through 10, and I can have a step size of 2, because I want every odd number. And so this will define a list of odd numbers from 1 to 10. So this is a way to quickly do that. And we're actually going to use this idea in one of our problems. So what we want to do is we want to make a list, okay? And to make a list, we want to make this list containing integers from 1 to n. Okay, so we can use the same idea of making a list with a range. So we can just return the list. And so we want to get 1 through n. So I know I need to include 1. Okay. And then what's my ending point? Well, this is the tricky part. We can't just say n. We have to say n plus 1, because n plus 1 is going to be exclusive, so the last element is going to be n. So this is the key thing here. So I just want to make sure you understand this. This is a pretty simple example. It can trip you up if you're not careful. So let's just run this interactively. Alright, so if I if I want to make integers from 1 through 10, I can just call make list on 10 and get, what did I do? Of course I can't just do that. I have to call a range on that. My bad. Yeah. Oops, got ahead of myself. My brain, I thought I'd written range, but my brain was moving faster than my typing. So let's try that again. So as you can see, if you make a list on 10, you get 1 through 10. Okay. So so when you get these errors, this was pretty nice, because it said, hey, list takes only 1 argument, and I gave it 2. So I was like, oops. So you're gonna make errors. So I also make errors, so don't worry about that. Now we're going to see an old friend of ours, SumNaturals. Okay, we've seen this a couple times now. And so what we're going to do is we're now going to write the SumNaturals function using the range. And it's very easy to write with range. So what I'm going to do is I can just make my result initially 0, as always. And then I want to get from 1 through n. So how do I do that? Well, I just go through the range from 1 to n plus 1, right? So that's my 1 through n. And I just add result plus equal I. Okay? And also, really, I don't even need this because if I include 0, it doesn't matter. And if we do have a default argument of 0, it's good. It'll actually fix it on, it's better to not include 1 in this case. So I'm just going to include it like that. So that's just it's a little small detail though, so don't worry too much about that. And we're going to return the result. So what this is doing is it's going to start at 0, but obviously 0 doesn't matter when you add it to 0. And then it's going to go to 1, and then it's going to go to 2, and then it's going to go to 3, and it's going to go all the way up until n. It's not going to include n plus 1 because the range function is exclusive of the last element. So that's the key point here. So let's say, okay, so sum naturals. So I should have just done a doc test on this because I wrote some doc tests. Let's do that. And it works. Okay, so that's our sum naturals function. So it's much more simple with the range function.